Hello, hello, hello. So, getting everything ready here so I can start this. Welcome everybody. See, I have 7 viewers in here, so I can go ahead and start my stream. There we are. Okay, so this is a sculpt that I started one of the previous streams, and I had made a nose for it, but I guess it disappeared because sometimes I don't save the right files. So we're going to finish this one up today because this one is for a customer. So let's keep working on this one. I'm not going to do a bunch of like crazy details or anything like that because this is for a suit. So it's going to be 3D printed, and then it's going to be sent to the customer so they can make a cast off of the 3D print. So not super crazy detail because it's not going to be something that's going to be, you know, animated or colored on the computer, but you can kind of see the process of this. Here's the eyes. Okay. And this is Zbrush. I use Zbrush a lot. I love this program. Hello, Sage. Oh man, I have like a bad cough right now. Just trying not to cough into the microphone, that's why I try to mute it when I'm doing that. So my character looks like it's spazzing out, but I'm just coughing. Oh, let's see. And if you have any questions while I'm doing this, just be sure to ask because I can read your comments. Sometimes I get a little quiet when I am working on this. Trying to kind of push all this stuff back. Sometimes it feels like it's all on one plane, not on a 3D plane. So everything feels really pushed forward. And of course everything I do on one side is currently mirrored on the other side. And the back of the head doesn't matter too much because I chopped this whole section off. We just want to make sure that this is going to fit a human head, so I try to give it a little more space up here on the top. Okay. Let's go ahead and give it a nose. Let's insert a sphere. It's stuck in there. And right now I'm going to be doing some intersecting geometry because it doesn't matter for this stage. And I'll show you how I get rid of all the intersecting stuff later. So a lot of this stuff I do it pretty much with spheres and then continue adding sphere after sphere after sphere. So usually this one is pretty heavy. I don't need it to be that heavy. So we're going to lower the quality of this a little bit. So it's just easier to work with. Let's cut it by half. There we go. And let's start moving it around. I'm running Zbrush, the full version, because you get a lot more features with it than you do with Core. So, such as Z Remesher, this is only available on the full version of Zbrush. And I use it a lot to clean my meshes. The cleaner the mesh, the better. A lot easier to work with it. Flatten the top up here. I love flat noses on the top. Well, at least like a little bit of flatness. I think they look really cool. And if I need to bump up the quality for the nose, which I might in a minute when I'm doing the nostrils, it's really easy. You literally just press one button. But it's nice to work with things at a lower level so you can move things faster and then go back up in quality. Thanks for the follow, Bawks. So I actually just looked at my follower count and I want to see how long it takes me to get to 500 since I was at 426 last time I looked, which was when I started this stream. So my goal is to reach 500 right now. So I think it'd be fun. Let's see, where are you? Damn standard. Draw up where I want these nostrils to go. There, and then I can move them around. If I want them bigger, closer. And then I can push those in a bit. So this is my clay build-up brush. And if I press Alt, it actually cuts into it instead of building up, which is a really nice feature of these brushes in this program. Alt makes them do the reverse. And you can see it kind of looks a little choppy at first, but that's okay, because we can fix that. So with the damn standard brush, I kind of drew where I wanted the nostrils to go. And then with the clay buildup, I went in there and I started cutting out. And then I control the size up here and just kind of cut into it. So you can see there's some jaggedy areas here. I'm going to go in with my smooth brush. But I'm going to see how this looks. So some of these are kind of stretched a bit. I'm going to go ahead and do same, Z remesh it. There you go. So that makes a bit more sense and I can move stuff around a little bit better. It's a really powerful button, the Z remesher, and that's a big reason why I upgraded to the full version. Because I use it so much. So much. I think I'm going to push this one a little bit more. Because then I'm going to use the flatten brush to make this pop out more. Usually when I do these, I don't do nostrils for them, but this customer had drawn nostrils in the art. So, oh, oops, not that. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But some of this area here, the muzzle is showing through, so I'm gonna push that in. Because I don't want it showing. There you go. So I can flatten those nostrils a little bit better. So I keep the nose and the head and the eyes in separate layers. So it's a little bit easier for me to work with, and especially with the nose. You can get a larger nose, a smaller nose, it just kind of depends. It's just easier for me to work in layers. Then if I press shift, I can smooth things out. Ah, hello, the furry doctor. So let's move. Try to kind of get this crack here a little bit more prominent. My night is going well. I started this, as always, a little later than I wanted to, but I wanted to relax after dinner for like a split second before I started doing this, since these all are commissions. But no, it's been good. It's been really good. I've been trying to stay very productive at night, which is fun. And trying to work on as many of these 3D projects as I can. These have kept me very sane during this quarantine. It's been good. How about yourself? Actually, I'll ask this for everybody. How's everybody's quarantine going? What has everybody been doing while you've been locked up? Staying safe and healthy, that's a good thing. Yeah, we've been away from everybody. Trying to follow all the social distancing that we can and only go out when we need to get some food, and even that we try to restrict it. Oh, thank you for the follow. Oh my goodness. ThresherSatyr. Okay. I was like, oh no, am I gonna botch this name? Thank you, thank you. Oh, look at that. Look at that booper. I love big noses. I'm doing better. Me and my wife and my child had the virus. We haven't been able to work for 14 days. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you're okay. So you said you had the virus. How bad was it? Because I've been avoiding everything. I've been super scared about getting it because of not being able to work. I'm really sorry you got that. That's terrible, but I'm glad that you're like, I mean, you're okay. It's upsetting here in Florida that a lot of people are just not taking this seriously. Mostly just coughing a lot and a lot of headaches and a lot of bad chest pain. Are you pretty healthy in general, or like if you were to consider yourself, like, would you consider yourself a healthy person? You would say. Because the news sometimes can be so terrifying with some of the stuff that you read. Yeah, we do really well. Doing pretty good. I may have to resort to some retail therapy to help keep me sane. I ordered an entry-level drawing tablet the other day and a webcam so I can play around with face tracking. Oh, good! Oh, good! Hey, it's a good thing. I mean, you're learning new stuff or playing with new tools. It's fun. I'm actually doing all this sculpting with a tablet as well. Funny enough, I found this Wacom tablet that I'm currently using at a pawn shop, of all places. I did not think I was going to find that there, but if you go to pawn shops by colleges, you find some really interesting stuff. So I ended up finding this one at a pawn shop. And I got it for dirt cheap. It's a Wacom tablet. It's one of the newer ones. It's the medium size ones. And they usually go for like, I think it's like $2.99 or so new. And this tablet, the person that had it before barely used it. And I got this thing for like just above $100. It was ridiculous. So if you're looking for like really good deals in the future when we can go back out and socialize, seriously look at pawn shops by colleges. You find some crazy stuff. And I went to Orlando when I had gotten this, and I went over by Full Sail, which is the college I went to, and a lot of the kids end up dumping out their stuff and selling a lot of things that are in really good condition. I'm all about buying used electronics because I just like to buy used electronics if I can, especially if they've been cared for. It's kind of like a why not. Saves yourself a little bit of money, so why not? I'll keep them in mind when I need to. I've been hanging in there. I haven't left the house much since the lockdown went into place. Same here. It's just pretty much going from here to work. I go to... It's technically another house because we don't have the shop in a commercial area. So technically we can go to work still. Because we don't socialize with, like, you know, other people, just the people that work with us, and most of them live with me, and we just go to work. Only one person that works with us doesn't live with me. Apart from that, we don't see anybody. We just see each other. Full Sail, like the gaming digital art college? Yeah, that's the same one. I graduated back in 2005 for computer animation. It's just weird because, like, my boyfriend's the one that started getting me into pawn shops and stuff, and I thought, well, I'm not gonna find anything there. It's kind of weird. He's like, no, you should give it a chance, and I did, and I'm really, really happy I did, because yeah, you find some really good stuff there. So definitely, I did the same thing on eBay too. I buy a lot of stuff used. Because I think, especially a lot of the stuff that I get into, a lot of people like to use it once and then they just kind of put it away. Like, I just bought a weird 3-in-1 3D printer, CNC, and laser cutter. Well, laser engraver, really. And it's called a Snap Maker. But I was really curious about them. I didn't want to pay full price for a new one just in case I was like, this thing's kind of a gimmick. I'm not going to like it. And I know the bigger version is coming out later this year. And I mean, I love 3D machines, like 3D printers, 3D resin printers. I mean, all of this stuff. And I've been doing a ton of work with them. But I really wanted to give the Snap Maker a try because I want to get into more of the CNC and laser stuff. But I wanted something that was probably used and it would be less expensive. And I actually did find a Snap Maker that was used, but I don't know what this person did with it because everything was still like in bags. So if they used it for like a minute and that was it, and then they put everything away. But I got it for such a good deal, and it's such a nice little machine. It is the cutest little 3D printer I've ever had, but it does a really good job with CNC as well, and laser. So I want to play with it some more this weekend, and I can give like a full review on the machine itself, because definitely I'd be interested in getting one of the larger machines that they're going to release later in the year. And especially if you are interested in these multi-combo machines, check out Snapmaker. It's pretty nice. Not cheap, but it's good. It's good. I've been curious about the laser cutters for cutting leather patterns. So I've been eyeballing, but the thing is it's hard to justify for me, especially because I know I wouldn't use it fully for, like, you know what I should be using it for. The Glowforge, I love everything I read about it. It's beautiful. It really is. Some people have issues because it is cloud-based, so that could be a problem. I don't really have that problem. I have a Cricut that I used often for suit making stuff, especially to cut out eyes, like plastic eyes, to cut out eyelids, to cut out eyebrows. It's a really versatile machine, which I'm very surprised makers don't talk about it more, because you can go crazy with this thing. But with the Glowforge, I can see doing a lot of that as well. It's just that it's a much higher price tag to get into it. I mean, you're comparing like a Cricut, getting into it, and then you're like paying like $300 for it, especially if you're doing the Cricut Maker, which is the one that actually is powerful to cut through plastic. Thin plastic, not thick plastic. But it's an awesome tool. I'm just really surprised that people don't bring it up more. The person that has shown me how to use it is another maker, and I saw her posting stuff on Instagram, and she was cutting eyes with it. And I hate cutting eyes, I really do, but I also like getting really clean cuts for my eyes. And this thing, even though it takes a little while to cut it, you just set it up, you do its thing, you create the files. I create all my files on my iPad, send it over, and it does an amazing job. So yeah, definitely look into Cricuts if you hate cutting eyes, because I do. But it does a really nice job. So only thing is if you're going to be cutting eyes and stuff with the Cricut Maker, make sure you get the Maker. The other ones are not strong enough, and you need to be able to connect it to the computer. That's the one thing. But it cuts leather too, so it's not bad. It's probably not as fast as like a laser cutter and stuff, but the price range isn't as high as, like, let's say a Glowforge, and you don't need as much space. But it is a smaller machine, you know, cheaper, all that stuff. But the cool thing is they're sold everywhere, which is cool. They even sell them at Target now, which is insane. Yeah, I want to do I'm gonna do some videos with the Cricut. I post a lot of stuff on my Patreon now, especially because people were asking about that as well. So I've been posting more on there. So if it feels like I'm quiet, it's because I'm actually posting a lot of stuff there. But I had talked about how good of a machine the Cricut was, and a definite buy if you are a maker. There's a million uses for that thing. That's why I keep bringing it up. But yeah, if you're interested, I'm not to try to like just like, oh, I'm gonna plug my Patreon, but I do have my link on the bottom and stuff. Lately, I've been doing a lot of 3D work, so if you are interested in more of this stuff, I talk about it a lot on there. I'll do tutorials and everything, and I also do tutorials for casting, like how to make your silicone mold, how to make your mother mold. Also talking about making figures, how I've gone through the process of figuring out what's the best way to make these things, because I'm getting into toys a lot more now, and it's a new thing for me, and I'm really excited to do more because I want to release new figures pretty much monthly on my Patreon. So I'm going to release all sorts of new stuff. So if you're curious and you want to do, you know, more creative things with your 3D printer, or if you have a resin printer and you would like to learn more, then yeah, definitely come and follow me. And we also have like a private Telegram chat, and I'm super active on there. I am posting literally every single thing I'm doing. There's a lot of suit stuff there too that I'll talk about. So everything's kind of like a cross mix off of each other. And yeah, and my Patreon starts at $5 a month, so I do stuff there. So that'll be my plug for the night if you guys are interested. But I'm trying to keep it fun. I also want to do a plush that I want to work on, a plush design. Oops, let me grab. There you go. I have a plush idea that I want to do, so I definitely want to create a pattern in 3D and print it, and you know, do all that fun stuff. And I'm going to post every single step of it on my Patreon. Yeah, I got into Patreon not that long ago, and I was a little worried if I was going to have the time to, you know, keep people engaged in what I'm doing, because sometimes like I jump around a lot with stuff that I like to do, because I have my problem is I have way too many ideas all at once, so it's very hard sometimes to focus on just like one thing. But it seems like the people that are in there right now seem to like it a lot, so which is good. So you'll get to see me talk about a lot of stuff that I like and I'm making. And right now, because there's no cons really coming up, Megaplex is still on, I think. Because that hasn't canceled yet, but who knows with everything the way it's going. I want to have a bunch of stuff on my table, so if you are curious in, you know, getting suit parts and toys and things that I'm making, I'm definitely going to be selling them at my table. Just keeping it fun, keeping it different. Yeah, I still draw on my iPad all the time. I don't post a ton of art. Like the other day I posted some sketches. Not because I'm not drawing, it's just because I've been so crazy busy with, you know, with all this virus stuff and everything. I've been trying to kind of focus my energy as much as possible on, you know, working on new molds, working on just new products, new everything. So art sadly has taken kind of a back seat a little bit on stuff I draw for myself, little sketches here and there, but really doing a ton of work art-wise. I've had to kind of put it to the side a little bit. I'm doing, you know, art commissions and stuff for people that I owe, like concept art and whatnot, and I gotta post those up and some badges. But I want to make more time for art in the future. It's just right now I gotta focus on all the suit stuff that I need to work on. And if I'm not at work doing suit stuff, you know, like specifically, like let's say gluing a head or something, I'm working on new molds for things coming up. Just staying busy. Sometimes I have too many things to do, so I gotta pick one or the other. I'm curious, do you have your own brushes that you like to use? I do, but I didn't make them. I bought all my brushes. I can look through my links of where I got them. I know one set of brushes that I was using for a while I got for free online. It was some girl that had posted them up. I'll have to look her up again. But they were incredible. Like really, really, really nice. But I'll have to share which ones I have. I think they're called Terra, like Tara, Terra's brushes. If you look up Terra's brushes for, I don't like that puckering there. For Procreate, you can find them. And they were free at the time that I found them. But if not, there's a couple other ones that I've bought on Gumroad, and they've ranged from like anywhere from like $5 to $25 and more depending. Some of them are uh, really, really nice. So look on Gumroad. You can buy some pretty inexpensive ones for the amount of like awesome brushes. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I do use a bunch of brushes. They're just not my own. I've actually never sat down to make a brush. Push this up. And this customer, they pretty much wanted like a generic dog that they can use over and over. So I'm trying to kind of give them something that would work for a couple of breeds. And of course, before I print or anything like that, I get approval from them. The nice thing with 3D is that you can take pictures from like every angle. Before you do any final work, which is always cool. That's the one thing that would be nice if you could do this a lot faster to kind of give people an idea like, hey, like this is what your suit will look like before it is done. But, nice to think about it, but this stuff takes a while. Thank you for the follow, Taco Nout. You're still learning how to use your iPad. There is so much you can do with the iPad. It's kind of crazy. And especially with art programs, there's just so many. Just so much stuff to do. Hello, Taco Nut. Alright, I'm gonna make this a little more defined here, the cheek. Yeah, it's weird. Like before I would have been like, no, the iPad's not gonna change like the way I do stuff or the way I draw. I'm not gonna use it that much. And nowadays, it's one of the most used tools next to my phone, of course, that I use for art, which is crazy. Like right now, I'm reading everybody's comments through my iPad. I have my iPad to my left. Then I have my main screen above me, and then I have the screen that I'm controlling my stream from a laptop underneath the main screen. Main screen. So I got 3 screens, and one of them is the iPad. Having the iPad kind of as a standalone, I'm not putting stress on my computers, and it works really well because, you know, touchscreen and all that good stuff. It's my older iPad too, so I repurpose all my older technology if I can. So I have some old iPads too that I have them for, well, working as pretty much secondary screens. Because, like I said, I really like to repurpose my electronics if I can. I am working on a dog commission that is only from pretty much like the cheeks forward. that is going to be 3D printed. So I'm getting the shapes where they should go, and then I will get approval from the customer, and then I can print it. And then in like about a day and a half to almost 2 days, we'll have a fursuit size printed head that they can make multiple copies of. The nice thing about 3D prints compared to clay prints is that you can just keep this. So you just stash it away, and then you can make multiple copies, and it's not as messy as clay. You can literally just put it in your closet and just forget about it afterwards, which is nice. I mean, yeah, you can't reuse the actual material, but you just, you know, put it away if you need to make a copy. I don't know, I like it. Plus, it doesn't weigh as much. That's like the best thing too. Yeah, so that's cleaner there. I've been working on custom airbrush controllers for a while. I've been having a lot of fun and trying to raise money for a website so I can do more. Oh, very cool. What kind of controllers? Like PlayStation controller or like stuff like that? Any and all gaming controls. Very cool. Oops. Let's try to clean it up here. Kind of want to make this sharper on the nose. Where's my flatten? And make this smaller. Yeah, well, so I learned ZBrush on my own. I had a 3D background, but it was through Maya, so I did not sculpt things like this. But ZBrush, yeah, ZBrush has been more of like a trial and error, tinker with it and see what I like. But it's been fun. It's been really fun. I highly recommend this program if you are into 3D, predominantly sculpting organic stuff. I mean, you can sculpt non-organic things too, but it is really nice for organic things. So I highly recommend this program. I'm not sponsored by them, but I swear to you, I will tell everybody get this program because it's so good. At first I was terrified of this program because the one thing I will suggest if you are getting into ZBrush, watch a bunch of tutorials, specifically the ones that are called Ask ZBrush. They're on YouTube, and they literally answer almost every single question you could have doing this stuff. And of course just poke around for like regular tutorials, but their tutorials are so good. You feel a whole lot less lost. With 3D printing, how does scaling work? I've seen many uses for costume parts, but how does make sure it prints the proper size and fits your head? So, that's an interesting one because it took me a little while to figure that one out. Let me save this real quick and take my sweater off. 1 second. Okay. Had to like remove my sweater and it got caught in my head. So when you're working in 3D space, like here right now, we don't know how big this thing is. And I am not sculpting currently to the actual size of what is going to be printed. There's no reference, there's no nothing. So what I do is I usually know that from cheek to cheek, for it to fit a human head, it should be at least 11.5 inches wide. This is the one thing I've learned just from printing. And that's about 292.2 millimeters wide. But how do you input that in here? Usually you don't. So I take it into Mesh Mixer, and Mesh Mixer, you can input all the sizes that you need. So you input the length from, you know, from here to here, and then the height, and then like from here to here. So because remember, you have three planes. You got this one, that one, and then the other one. So it's literally, yeah, it's like do do do. I mean, you can see it right under the head, all those. You can do all that in Mesh Mixer. So it doesn't really matter how you're sculpting it in ZBrush, because if you have Mesh Mixer, which is free, so everybody should have it, I usually take it in there to fix my sculpts before I print, because Mesh Mixer will point out whatever is wrong with your sculpt. And that way you can resize as you can do everything. And I'll show you, if I take this one over there in a little bit, how I would continue the process of that. But it's easy, it's actually not that bad. Then it comes down to, does it fit in your printer? I have a printer that can print pretty big. It'll print 300 millimeter by 300 by 400. And like I told you, the widest part that I want to go is 292.2. So that's underneath the 300 level, which should be like the width of the bed. So I'm fine with printing a fursuit head sized with a one-go type print. I don't have to divide it into parts. I don't have to do anything to it. I literally just get it to that size, press print, and I come back a day and a half later. If the printer's behaving itself, which currently on one is misbehaving. I mean, I treat them like kids, because I swear to you, they like, it's tantrum time. Because 3D printers are probably the most moodiest machines I've ever owned in my life. I thought robots in general were moody. Well, I mean, the printer's kind of like a robot anyways. But, wow. These things just, if you look at them wrong, they like to just break. So, out of the 4 regular FDM printers that I have, 3 of them are working fine, which is good. Currently, I'm printing some antlers for a customer. I have one that's already printed, and now it needs to be fixed up, cleaned up, and then we want to put XTC on it. If you guys don't know what XTC is, it's this amazing stuff that you brush on and makes your print smooth. And that way you can sand it, and then you can paint it, and it comes out super duper clean. Instead of sitting there and trying to, like, you know, sand every little line. But lots of cool stuff. If you guys go on Smooth-On's website, you can read up about XTC, and you can look up all the 3D printing stuff and how to smooth your 3D prints. I'm learning it right now, but it's kind of hard. The sculpting part's pretty fun though. No, it is. And then, like I said, it just depends on like the 3D printer that you get. If you have a small printer, I will tell you it is going to be kind of complicated, because you're going to have to think about how you want to slice all your parts for them to fit correctly. Mesh Mixer's awesome, and does allow you to grab the thing and cut it into multiple levels depending on how you want to cut the object. And then you can tell it, okay, I need it to fit in a bed this size. How many parts would you need to cut it? And the program itself is actually pretty smart. So if you're unsure how to fit anything, look up Mesh Mixer tutorials and look up how to slice a model so it fits in your bed, or how to resize a model so it fits on your head. But it's not complicated, it's nice. Oh my goodness, thank you, Juiceps. You raised my, wow, 58 viewers now? my goodness. It's a juicy raid. Oh, thank you for the follow. Oh, more coming in. Oh, thank you for following. Oh my god, Juiceps, are you sending me people so they can all subscribe and I can get my 500 followers? Sarath Mistruin, thank you. Oh, it is a juicy raid. Oh, thank 3P1CU5. Thank you. Oh, thank you for following Aero Yeen and Sharath Dur and T-Baz. Oh my goodness, you're sending them all. And Diva Panda. I just see your little pop heads. It's so cute. You guys are activating all my little zombie men. Yay! Thank you. Puffffy. Thank you, Puffffy. Get all these cheekies, yeah, see? Happy dog. Thank you. Seany Boy, thank you. Aero Yeen, thank you. Hurry slowly. I almost said something else. StaskaSan, thank you. Oh, let me flatten this part. It's the little zombie raid. Look at all these cute little things. Ah, thank you for the host too. Thank you, thank you. Get this kind of cleaned up here. And then I'm gonna shove a sphere in its mouth. Ah, it's Caribou too, using the cute stickers. Alright, let me grab and throw a sphere in its mouth. So I usually throw a sphere in its mouth for printing purposes, because if I can close most of the mouth but keep the shape, it helps have less undercuts for the printer, so the printer doesn't have like a conniption with some of these areas, which is fine. But it's also thinking about, okay, I'm going to use this to make a mold, so I don't want these heavy undercuts over here. So I try to move this. And like I said, some stuff will be intersecting geometry, which is fine. Kind of push that back. So I'll probably push this one a little bit forward. Kind of get that in there. Yeah. Just trying to make it less complicated for the owner of the model when they have to make a cast of this, so it's not like undercut city. And I'll make that flow into there a little bit. I shall probably pull that. And then I'll forcefully pull that. And I'll show you why. So, when I print it, it'll have this in the mouth, which is fine. And then when you are putting, silicone over this to make a mold, you don't have to use a bunch of silicone, because remember, the inside of a fursuit head's mouth is usually cut out. But you want the idea of where the mouth hole goes. Just trying to make it easier for people to make their molds and use less material too, because silicone gets expensive. Yeah, like that. What I do is I flatten it. flattened. So I gotta fix the muzzle here because I see a bunch of little issues. So you can see that this is doing like a weird break because I have this at a lower division. So let's just bump it up a little bit for the heck of it. So we're gonna go to divide, and there we go. And it cleaned it, one button. And then I'll just go in here and clean this a little bit. I like to kind of flatten the top parts of the cheeks here. It's kind of neat to see the amount of people that are getting into 3D for suits. I think it's because 3D printers are also becoming super affordable, thankfully. There's so many companies making them, so there's 3D printers for like every budget now. And the other one that I think it confuses a lot of people. So I have two types of printers. Like, you know, the regular one that I call the FDM, I mean, everybody calls the FDM printer, which is the extrusion type where you have your plastic in a spool. And that's probably like the cheapest way to print stuff, which is great. But a lot of people were asking me how I was making the claws, because I've been printing these claws for casting, and they were kind of confused on how I made them because they're like, hey, we have a printer and ours never comes out that clean. And I said, it's probably because you're not printing with a resin printer. So if you've been watching my Twitter, you may have noticed that I have these really shiny claws that I keep taking pictures of because they're pretty. I'm sure people are already sick of them, like, oh no, here she comes posting pictures of claws again. And of course everybody on Instagram was convinced that they were dildos. Thanks, Instagram. Yeah, really, really tiny ones. But they're claws, and they come out really nice and clean from the resin printer. So definitely if you are looking to create really clean, small parts, resin printers have gotten insanely affordable, like really, really awesome. So if you are wanting to dabble with that, definitely do it somewhere where you have space to make a mess, such as like a garage or somewhere where you can have a lot of ventilation, because that's the one downfall with resin printers. They are very stinky, and the resin is pretty toxic in general. I mean, even just being around it, even though some of it says like, oh, this was not as bad, pretty sure that stuff is not good for you to breathe for a prolonged period. So definitely if you have a garage or somewhere, a room that you can ventilate, look into these printers. They're really, really awesome if you want to get smooth parts done. And I do recommend this brand. It's not the one that I have, but this brand's having a sale right now, which you guys might like. It's a company called Anycubic, and I do have two of their printers, not their resin printers. I have their regular FDM printers, and they're great. They're little workhorses, so I'm very happy about it. But the Photon series is currently on sale, and they have one of their first, I think it's like the first version of resin printer that they did that was like their super popular version. It might be like an updated one. It's 169 bucks. That's nothing to get into this hobby. So definitely if you want to look into it, and if you want to look into it, if you have the space for the messy stuff, you want a printer that you don't have to babysit as much, I definitely recommend getting into 3D printers. When it comes to easy stuff, I'd say check out resin printers. Definitely worth the investment. Because I will say FDM printers, if you are not ready to spend your time and money into those things, they're gonna make you old fast. I love them and I hate them at the same time. because I've spent so many nights just fixing them. But when you do get good results out of them, my goodness, it's the best feeling ever. It's so good. So this pooperino is taking shape. Clean this bottom part out. So the back is going to get completely cut. I mentioned that before. That's why I'm not really paying attention to the back, because the back looks a little short. Like the head's kind of moved forward. But it does not matter. Kind of flattening the eyes a little bit. Maybe not that much. Go back. There. Yeah, so they don't need to be as out. That way it doesn't waste as much material printing, because there's no point for them to be so bulbous-y, since this gets cut out anyways. Oh, it's gonna be a happy doggy. A lot of the stuff I'm doing is just kind of like little micromanaging of little areas. Let me double check on her concept art. One sec. Yeah. Yeah, she wants a happy canine. Just trying to see what she had drawn to get stuff that's similar. And the nice thing is if she doesn't want the nose with the divot, because I actually thought that would be pretty, I can go ahead and bump it up. That's the nice thing about working in layers, that you can just move a couple little things around and, you know, either make a whole new nose, adjust it. It's not a big deal. The other thing I had mentioned before was the whole resizing thing. If you don't have a mesh mixer, which you should, you really, really should, when you're printing stuff, you can resize it in the slicer program that you're using. I currently use Cura for my slicing program, which is what chops up this file and puts it into a type of file that the printer can read, because the printer cannot read an STL file or an OBJ file unless it has been turned into something called G-code. For my printer, it reads G-code. So you need to convert this whole thing into something the printer can read, and that's why you use a program called Cura. And the G-code tells it, you know, how quality, the speed, I mean all the good stuff, all the important things. So things that I need to take into account here, because sometimes I forget about this. is you can see that the head's kind of having a slope here. It'd be fine if this character wasn't something you're going to wear. It's one of those things that when you're sculpting these things, try to kind of force this area up a bit, just because it gives it more space. Like I said, don't worry about the backs. I'm going to show you how I end up cutting it and cleaning it in Mesh Mixer. So let's continue cleaning. So that's looking pretty solid. Thank you for stopping by, Seany Boy. And have a good night. Okay, so I'm going to inflate this area here a little bit. So I for inflate. Boop, boop, boop. Let's give it a little bit of meat up here. And then smooth it a bit. Because she had drawn a little bit heavier eyebrows than I usually draw. I wanted to kind of make those a little more pronounced in the print. So the cool thing about these prints, even though I've done a couple of dogs already, people will send me art to follow or give me kind of like ish artistic liberty on some stuff. So I try to make them all look different, so it's not like I'm like, you know, making the same exact thing every single time. So everybody gets like a variation of how I see these characters, which is fun. It's kind of like when people ask me to draw their characters and then they have a ton of different versions of their character. Hey there, I love the work that you do and it's really awesome to watch you create. Oh, thank you, Ver Hurley. That's really sweet of you. I try to show what I do when I can stream or the computer can handle it. It's been so nice to be able to have a computer that can handle this stuff because my older Mac was just, it was not playing nice at all. Now 3D has been a really nice change of pace for a lot of things. It's cool because like I can come home and work on 3D projects and it's great. It's just one of those things that to me it's like drawing. It does the same sort of thing. It calms me down and I'm able to see the shapes that I have, you know, in my head in 3D. And I can rotate them and stuff. And everything I'm doing sculpting wise, I'm doing it on a tablet. It makes this a lot nicer than sculpting with a mouse. I would not sculpt with a mouse. So I'm literally drawing on the screen. Well, drawing on the tablet. Thank you for the follow. Shadow XD. Is Zbrush a demanding program to run? It is. So the higher the poly count, which is the information on the skin of this, so like right now, see, this is a little bit heavier than for say the nose. But the tighter you get and more detail that you do, the computer can struggle. I don't have like a super crazy machine or anything like that, but it will handle just fine. I mean, if you have a gaming machine that is pretty specced out, you won't have an issue up until you're dealing with like really heavy models. So, and heavy as in detail, like, you know, your mesh gets denser and denser and denser. And that's when you can like kill your machine. The other thing is see up here, all these little dots, kind of squares, I guess, rectangles. These are my undo histories, so you can go over here. So it can go back 514 times of undo all the way here. So I'm going to quick save it because sometimes this fails. So let's say I go all the way over here. It's when I was just working on the nose. Then I can go all the way back. That's when the nose is done. So ZBrush likes to keep all its undos, or at least quite a few of those undos. So you can go back into different parts of the model, see? And you can fix potential errors that you had really early on in the model. If I start working on it here, it'll give me a heads up, hey, you're messing with it. It's not a good idea to do that right now because it's going to overwrite every single one from 221 all the way to 514. So it's just things to keep in mind, but it's awesome. Oh, thank you for the follow, the Ivalam. But that's the sort of stuff that will bog your computer down. Back when I was working with Maya, even my teacher would be like, erase your history, erase your history. The history takes up a ton of space. The history also ends up, you know, bogging down your computer and eventually killing it, especially if you're running multiple things. I do not run my streaming stuff, like everything you guys are seeing. The cute little fox on the bottom that talks. That's not me, you guys. That is fake. That guy, that girl, the program that I'm running, Streamlabs, I'm running all that through my laptop right now. Everything that is streaming related and that little character is running through my laptop, and the music and all that stuff, and I have that connected to the internet, blah blah blah, all that. And then I connect the main desktop, the powerhouse, where I'm running all this stuff through that laptop using one of my Elgato cards. So that way everything can be connected together. Because my computer does not like doing, you know, streaming 3D, music, all this stuff together. It really just doesn't like that. So, because I don't have a, I'd say a powerhouse of a computer, but I think it's a good idea to keep them separated if you can. I've done some work in Maya before, but I've never gotten to play around with Zbrush before. Definitely try it. I come from a Maya background, but for a long time I couldn't touch the program because the program was, I mean, to be perfectly honest, extremely expensive for somebody who wasn't doing it professionally. So I lost a lot of the ability to do stuff in Maya. So if I jump into Maya now, it's going to take me a while to kind of figure stuff out again because I haven't touched it in many years. So I've been trying to kind of teach myself Blender because Blender is very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, it's also free, which is nice. But Zbrush takes this whole approach of organic and the way that you would, you know, grab something with your hands and work with clay and turns it into a reality, which is why I went into this program. It's an amazing program if you love working with real clay. So it just comes down to how you like to sculpt. If you rather sculpt per, like, you know, build up every little face and you control every poly and everything the way it's going to look, I mean, yeah, you can do it that way too. I think you can do it that way on Zbrush as well. I have not tried that way, but I just like working off with the sphere and just kind of messing with the Z remesher and changing it and making it like low poly and then building it up. Like right now the nose is still pretty low. You can see all the little squares and stuff right there. But for my purpose, it's fine. But like, let's say, hey, I'm going to save this. We want it a little bit smoother with more information. I literally just go into geometry and I hit divide and there you go. It's a lot smoother, but it's a lot denser. So, but then, you know how if you know stuff about, like, you know, character design and whatnot, this Z remesher, this thing is kind of incredible with the way it adapts to things. Especially if you hit adapt when you do Z remesher, it thinks about where, like, you know, the holes are and what you're doing with everything, and it really does a good job in figuring out where it wants to put all these polys, which is really nice. So I highly recommend getting the full version if you can for ZBrush. You can start off with the core, see how much you like it. The core, I think you can pay per month, or you can buy the whole thing, but it is just nuts. That's super neat. I was able to get experience with Maya through university back then, but I agree the license is expensive. Yeah, it's exactly. I did everything through college, and then once I graduated, I just couldn't afford it. You can, but it's not as pleasant as working with specific vertices and faces in Blender or something similar. Okay, so see, that's good to know. I haven't tried it on here yet, so that's why I was like, but I mean, I sculpt like this now, and it feels like drawing, so I didn't see a need for myself. So I want to pull the bottom jaw a bit since I see it's a little short for my taste. But if you want to get into some of this like organic sculpting and you don't want to try, or you don't want to, you know, buy ZBrush, Blender has free. Like, I mean, Blender is free and it has a sculpting area. It's not as clean as ZBrush, but definitely a place to start to see if you want to even get into this stuff. I think I'm still gonna push this upper muzzle in a little bit. And push that nose in as well. So going forward after sculpting, would you print it and then make a cast mold? Yeah, so I'll grab the file from here. We'll prep it in Mesh Mixer. We'll take it into Cura, and in Cura we'll slice it. Then that turns it into a file the printer can read. The printer will print it. Usually the settings I do and the size I do takes about almost 2 days. Once that's printed, you pull it off the printer, you slap silicone on the head itself. You literally cover it except for the back. The back's just like, you know, against the ground. And you cover it, and then you do a couple of layers through the silicone, you let that cure, and then you do a hard mother mold on the outside. We do this stuff called freeform air, and that stuff is awesome. It's better than plaster and any of that stuff that falls apart. It's a bit more money, of course. But definitely worth the investment for that if you want a mother mold that's going to last you. And then you have literally a shell that you can work with, made out of silicone, and the mother mold on the outside, you know, keeping your silicone in shape. So when you put expanding foam in it, it fills the silicone, and all of a sudden you have a copy of what you did that you can do over and over and over again until you know, ruin the mold somehow, which eventually they do end up, you know, wearing, and then you have to get a new one. But it takes, oh boy, that looks beautiful. It takes a while, especially if you did a good mold, to really mess them up. And just doing like little mini things based on the art that was sent. Sculptress, while it lacks a lot of the features, ZBrush is pretty good for playing around. Oh no, definitely. I started in Sculptress when I wanted to see if I wanted ZBrush. Sculptress is made by the same people that make ZBrush, and that is the freebie version of it. And it's like the, you know, get your feet wet with 3D and don't have a panic attack. It's actually not as bad. It's just pretty much, you know, the freebie one, and it doesn't require a very strong computer. It doesn't require a strong computer at all. I've used it on some really old computers and been fine. Just save often. You see me hitting quick save here quite a bit because it will create a file for me here in my Lightbox. This is all the stuff, like, you know, I've been working on and whatnot. Some of these are question marks because I've actually put these on a separate drive. So that's why they're gone from there now, but all the stuff is here. So I'll show you a project I'm working on in a minute before we take this out. So I think that looks pretty good for what I want to do. Let me just bubble this little part out here, because then we'll cut out the whole bottom. is really awesome how the process works. It seems like a bit to set up, but once the mold is made, it must be nice not having to carve every head out. No, definitely, and that's the thing. When you start having a lot of molds that make sense that you can, you know, carve parts off, because remember, it's foam. So you can alter the molds, you can, you know, cut part of the muzzle off, make the muzzle shorter, make the muzzle longer by adding to things. It's almost like a template in a way that you can build up from or take stuff off, because it's not a resin head that you're just like, all right, I'm stuck to this look always. It's foam. So I definitely alter my foam heads based on what I need them to be. And that's part of the fun. Plus they don't weigh as much compared to like, you know, a resin head, which is nice. So let me save this. I'll show you one of the files that I'm working on. Show you this guy. It's a toy that I'm working on. I already printed, but I want to change the joints. So let me save this. This is Razzy Dog. Save it on the desktop. Save. No. Let's do Razzy Dog. Name it with nose. Oh, cool. I guess I'll. Oops. Did I forget to write? With nose. And that's save. Cool. So I'll save it and I'll show you the figure that I am working on. So I've already printed a couple of these. I'm going to offer these through my Patreon. And I was testing the joints out. I did print them with these little ball joints, but I just literally just glued them in because I was printing this in parts. But I'm going to do rod joints, I guess that's what you would call it. So it's going to be a little bit easier for me in the future. I'm learning so much when it comes to printing toys and getting things to work right on the resin printer that this has all been like a learning experience. So this is my little guy. I painted its eyes because I felt like it. But you can see that there's these balls that go right there. Oh, and the other thing too that I learned is resin will shrink a little bit in the printer. So just make sure that if the sphere is going to join where this one is, let's do a live boolean. So this is the other thing too. You see how it's got a ball? And then I hit live boolean. It actually shows me what I want because I told it, hey, show me my live boolean, which is really nice for this sort of stuff. I have it on the butt here too. So that same sphere, if I turn off that, I duplicated and I put it in the tail and I put it in the arms too because I wanted something that was easy enough to pass over. So the other thing that I did, because I was unsure with this figure exactly, was the shoulders. Because I wasn't sure how the connection was going to go, and because this was my first time printing something that I would consider a figure, I decided to cheat a little bit and created an area that was almost like a foolproof area, that if I had a bit of a gap, it would be mostly covered by these floofies that I created on the arms, and lo and behold, it worked. I'm very happy it did because I was kind of worried about that. So that's why those puffies were there. That's like an extra piece. So all the parts here, so like let's say if I wanted to take that off, I could. Take his nose off, I could. Take an arm off, I could. So I did everything in different layers. See? And see, no eyes. No pupils, because even the pupils in a different layer. Then this way, for any of the toys that I'm working on, I can do different parts for them. I can reuse parts. See, so you can see the fluffies right there. I made a ring of fluffies. Then you can see where they are. But it's just, I have this file set up so I can reuse this body and then do different critters because I actually like the shape of the body. It's very generic and it works for like the little critters that I want to do. So these, oh, and I had to give it beans because I love beans. Look at that, my can of beans, right? Yeah, look at them. So I wanted to give the toy these nice beans, and they actually they came out pretty cool. But that's the little dude that I'm doing. I'm selling 4 of these primed, ready to go for painting through my Patreon. I'm not offering them like in like, you know, general public as of now because a lot of this stuff is like real intensive time consuming stuff to do and I don't have a ton of time. So I gotta be I gotta restrict my stuff to Patreon for now. But if you are coming to Megaplex, I should have a couple of these figures. Like I said, I'm releasing a new figure every month to have available. I can't guarantee the amount that I will have because I'm printing, prepping, painting, doing all this stuff myself. So yeah, this is the first one. I'll show you guys the second one. I wanted to make a cute chubby raccoon. Yeah, I'm trying to set it up in parts so it's not a nightmare. I'll show you my chubby baby. I plan to do deer. Yes, I plan to do bear. Bear might be my second one that I do. But I thought foxes were appropriate for the first one. Raccoons, because I like raccoons. And I'm playing too much Animal Crossing. So I thought a little chubby raccoon was cute. This one I was going for a more stylized, like simple look. I want to change his feet a little bit, make them more bubbly. Because the way these are printing, they're printing kind of too flat for me. I want to do some little detailing on the hands if I can. And this one is one that we're going to make a mold instead of selling it straight from the printer cleaned up. So that's another look that I want to do for them. I think they're cute. So I'm going to do some chubby ones, and I'm going to do some really stylized ones. I'm going to do some quad ones, like, I guess more feral looking and stuff. So I want to release a bunch of different ones, and hopefully when Megaplex rolls around, I'll have at least like 1 or 2 of each version that I have made up until the time the convention comes. And that way I can gauge which ones are the ones that people really like, and kind of continue going from there. But this is my idea for now. These are the little figures. Thought they were fun. So I just have the fox and the raccoon currently made. But yeah, it's a different idea for different stuff. Here's the claw mold that I've been using. Super simple. And I literally printed this in a couple of sizes from 25mm all the way to 50mm. 50mm is usually the size of my claw for my fursuits, my fursuit feet, and about 30mm is the size for my my hands. And of course I cut the bottom off. This one's not the finished one, but this is literally all I did with this. It's 2 pieces, and I followed the look of my old claw that I had, just made it longer and more refined. Oh, thank you for the subscription, Elation. So yeah, definitely want to do some deer, some cute deer. I need to gauge what people really want to see for toys. I want to do some really cool werewolves for them, like really stylized, like stuff I like. I love toothy werewolves. So definitely want to do that. This was one that I had I'm not going to do anything with this one, but I'll show you. This was one that I had just kind of quickly colored just to see the way the color looked. Thought it was fun. I want to do hyenas. Hyenas are definite. That's 100%. I'm doing that one. But yeah, it's like definitely bears, definitely hyenas, definitely wolves, and then of course the werewolf gets a different feel to it. Like the werewolf is like a werewolf. Because I love werewolves, so I have to do that. But I'm gonna do a couple of critters and kind of go from there. And then I do want to offer every once in a while some customs for people that might want them, and then I can paint them, all that good stuff. But this is one that I had tried out just to see. I made like a generic pose, and then I ended up reusing the pose for this guy on the other fox, and I altered it a little bit because I liked the body. But yeah, I colored this one up just to see how it would look, just really simple coloring in Zbrush, and then tested some different materials on the face because I thought it was pretty. Oh no. Where'd you go? There it is. Oh no. But my tool is freaking out. But yeah, you get the idea of that one. Let's go back to oh boy. Okay, you can see my let me restart this because my ZBrush, it is crashing. Okay, let's restart ZBrush again. Ah, thank you for the follow. Deuce Volt Infidel. I hope my last update dummy was finally a good one. You'd have to tell me who you are, because I can't tell from your name, Elation. It probably was fine, unless I said something. Because the funny part is oh no, yours is fine. Okay, 4, you're good. We have it like ready to work on and everything. So no, you're fine. Your head is actually cut and sewn currently. So I will be gluing that one very soon, because I'm doing, it took me like, it felt like I was quiet for a while and I felt bad, but the thing is I was setting up over 20 heads to get them all to, you know, eyes, the head setup, carving, balaclavas, you know, all this stuff, and I like to get them all to this like one stage, because I get my brother to cut the fur and to, you know, sew it and everything, and then that way it comes back to me, and then I can sit down and finish stuff. So for the next couple of weeks, you're going to see me finishing at least 2 to 3 suits a week, because we have so many bodies, paws, everything kind of just put together, and it's kind of waiting on me to finish up the heads, which is nice. So you're gonna see a flood of things coming out, and I've been very grateful you guys have been patient, because it has been such a stressful, messy thing with the virus and stuff. I mean, now this is nobody's fault, of course. I'm getting notifications from all the fabrics and stuff we've ordered. 30-day delay on stuff currently. So tomorrow I gotta sit down and like order a bunch of stuff in advance to make sure that I'm not, you know, screwed with this stuff. So, but because they're not essential items, which makes sense, it's why a lot of these delays are happening. So something to keep in mind. Fun stuff. That's why I made a big post about it today on Telegram, on the Mix Candy Telegram. All right, so let's bind this one, and I'll show you how the magic works in Mesh Mixer. So usually whenever I already saved this one and everything, I come in here and I merge everything. So I merge down, and then I merge down, because I'm going to export this thing as a one piece. So now it's one, you see all my layers were put together, and then we're going to export it, and then we're just going to name it Razzy Dog, because that's the customer, and we'll say 1, and it's going to be an OBJ file, and then we're going, then it's right there, let's put it right there. Then we're going to open Mesh Mixer. No, go to store, and then we just grab it and we throw it in here. So this program's pretty cool. So it'll show you, hey, like, what are you doing? You got a couple of things that are separate. You see the sphere is in there, and then you see those spheres are in there, and then you see all this stuff is in here. And it's kind of like, wow, this is gonna be a mess to print. You don't want to do this. You want to turn it into a single piece, like a solid piece. And this is what we're gonna do. Yeah, I've seen some major delays and out of stock high prices, a number of things that I've been shopping for. I have to be a very savvy consumer to get what I want. Yeah, exactly. Well, like toilet paper, I mean, that's been a pain, at least in my area, to find. I can't find it anywhere, so I felt weird. I had to go on Twitter and ask people, hey, who's got toilet paper that can sell me? And I ended up buying toilet paper from Texas. So that's a first for me, and paper towels, because I couldn't find anything in the area. So it's just like, oh my goodness. But let's go back to this one. So when you come in here, you go, hey, let's check this out. We're going to do an analysis, an inspector. It's not going to find anything because everything is it's closed, but I know it's in different parts and the printer is not going to like that. So what we want to do is we want to edit this, and then we want to make it a solid, right? So you're going to see here, so I want to see how this transfers over the details. So we're going to make this a solid so we can print this without a problem. So let's make it a solid. It looks like it did a crap job, if we're going to be honest, right? So it looks, you know, kind of like a mess. This isn't very high quality. So we don't want to accept this yet. We want to update it, but we want to change this from solid type, from fast to sharp edge preserve. And I usually just kind of bump it up. And then I bump up the mesh density. I don't care if it's going to be heavy. I can bump it down if I need to, but I'd rather it be higher so it passes more detail. So check out the edges, how it changes once you do that. Update. And then it takes a minute to like figure out all the information. Yeah, I did eventually find my toilet paper thanks to a wonderful friend that I have in Texas. I love her. And she hooked me up with some soft bear toilet paper. Those bears, soft for your booty. So I had to get some of that. But I do have like industrial grade, like the sad kind, one-ply toilet paper. That is my, if everything is terrible, at least I don't have to like wipe with a towel. So if we're gonna get graphic over here. But I just wish I had a bidet. That's the one thing. And those were sold out on Amazon too. So when you click on it, look at the details. They're nice and crispy. And that's what I want. Crispy details. So then you do accept. And you let it do its thing. So now you see that there's a solid. And that's the one you want to keep. And then there's the one that's this one. You see it sees all the edges, I mean all the pieces. You don't want that, toss it. You have a solid now. So now this, all the intersecting parts are gone. This is a solid piece now. This is perfect for printing. It is a completely closed, you know, system. But this thing has like a ball here in the back. We want this thing to be flat. So what do you do to make this flat? What you do in this program is plane cut. Plane cut is this awesome thing, as you can see right here. You can choose where you want to slice it off. I usually slice it around right there. Right there. So see that whole bottom part? We don't need it. And then you go cut, discard that half because I don't want it. You want to keep just the top part. And then it's going to be a remesh fill. You can change this, but I usually do remesh fill, so it closes it up. You do accept, and then it cuts the bottom. And now it is flat and nice, and it's literally ready to get printed. So we grab, actually let's close this one for now, so the computer doesn't get all mad. So we have all this is ready to print. And this one, I always do this because it's good to do it. Inspector, so it goes through it. If it had problems, like with the mesh had defects, it would have a little red line. And the little red line would go, hey, do you want me to fix it? And you can do auto repair. Right now, there's no problem with it. So it's ready to go. So I will show you what I do in Cura if you're interested in it. I've been thinking about selling up my art, but pricing it in rolls of toilet paper. I've had it for months. You should. People would send it to you. So from here, we'll export this. And then we'll do Razzy, do flat back test. Because I have to get this approved by the customer first to make sure if she likes everything, then I can go ahead and print it. Because it's pretty much ready to go. I might alter little things here and there that I might see, like, you know, I want to change that, or because I'm picky. So then you go from here. We're going to open Cura. It's probably going to scream at me that says that it wants a new version. I'm running an older version on this computer, and I'm running a newer version on the computer underneath this one. Just because sometimes older versions seem to work better on some of my printers. I don't know why, but they do. So I do tests back and forth depending on when my files have failed. I do want to upgrade to Simplify 3D. I just haven't yet. So I have two types of printers on this computer. I have just the Artillery X1 set up, and it's a big boy. Very, very big boy. So it will print, like I said, 300 here and here. It's a square that's 300 by 300 by 400. So it's pretty tall. It's a beast of a machine, and I love this thing. So And you can see it says 3, it says artillery base. And I usually print at a 0.2. I actually just upgraded, oh, I'm upgrading my nozzle. I have it downstairs. I just have a clog right now. I want to upgrade it to a 0.8 so I can print with a not as high of a quality, so I can print faster, which will be fun. I use Cura for slicing stuff to print on my little FDM printer. It's great, yeah, and it's free, which is good. And they actually do really awesome stuff updating this program. So when I come in here, where are you? Where are you? That's Razzy Dog, Razzy Flat. I usually just grab it, toss it. And just wait for it to load. Where are you? There you are. So it's decently sized, but we know that this, we can come over here and you resize it. I know that I want it from cheek to cheek, which would be the red one, to be 292. Let's do 292. 292, at least. So you see that it's giving me an issue there. Yeah, because the cheeks are a little too wide for what I want to do. This is the other thing too. I gotta remove this because I print it without anything. See, if I don't print it with anything, which usually for these heads there's so much surface area on the bottom, you don't need to worry about it. I tend to print these kind of twisted a little bit because I don't know, it just makes me happy. Usually like that, and flat on the bottom. So I'll show you the type of settings I do and you can see how long these take to print. So this size, I could even go a little bit bigger if I wanted to. So I usually do... Ah, thank you for the follow, GD Taylor. If I do... 292. But it wants to... Let me twist it. There you go. So that is the size. Now we just move it. Yeah. As long as it's yellow, you can see. Oh, not like that. Oops. Don't do that. As long as it's yellow, it means it's good to print. Oh, I see 3D print software that deserves a follow. So this is a setting that I use. I usually come in here. I leave it at 0.2. I still like the quality, even if it takes a little bit longer. I don't touch that. I come in here and I bump down the infill density to 5 because you don't need it to be strong at all. Like it's not, doesn't have to be like that bad. I do lines because it takes up less time to do so. I print at 210, a bed at 70, and this is for PLA, so it's not bad at all. Print speed of 70, just to be safe. I usually never do 100 because, you know, that's how you throw your print off the bed. And I do this, enable acceleration control and jerk control. It helps it. It's a lot of the time from like not shifting layers, which is good. I learned this the hard way, so do activate those, especially on prints that take more than a day. I keep my fans at 100. Sometimes I lower them to like 80%. It just depends. Support placement you can do everywhere. Usually with a head you don't need any. You can actually get away with like pretty much like touching the build face or everywhere, but if it does any, it'll probably do it like right there because it's a red area, and sometimes it does like right there, so it's not bad. Support pattern, zigzag, easy. And make sure you keep the support density low so it's easy to rip off. And build plate, none for these heads. And then I will hit slice and you can see how long these take with these settings. But this is because I'm printing at a 0.2. I want to be able to print like at a 0.6 for the next head so I can really speed up my process, and that's going to really like cut down hours of work. So So this one is 2 days and 6 hours, and it'll tell you, okay, it's going to use 313 meters of spool. I think it's about 333 meters in each spool-ish. So it won't use the whole spool, but it'll use a lot of it. So that's usually the settings that I do. I run my machines for about 2 days, and that's how you get a printed 3D head. You go from Zbrush to Mesh Mixer to Cura, and then you save the G-code. Just go save file. Let's do a preview. So it shows you how it does it. And that's the preview. You can kind of see that there's some supports right there. See them right there and right there. And these get knocked off real easy. And then, if you want to see how this works, this is how the infill is going to look. That's how I like to do the infill on all my heads, because people have always wondered, like, well, what are they inside? I'm like, it still has an infill. They're not hollow, because hollow heads, you have to print this completely different. But it works, and you can see how it prints everything. So there's the head. So you can see, okay, how is it going to do this area here? So if you look at this, it tells you, all right, I'm going to print like that. And then I'm going to do, you know, these lines, and then just start filling up. It's really cool because it's super accurate how it does all this stuff. So you just kind of go and just check your stuff. 3D printing is magic and amazing. I love it. But yeah, these are the 3 steps you do. You go from Zbrush to Mesh Mixer to Cura to the printer. So 4 steps, I guess, to get to the printer. So yeah, so if you have any questions, like, be sure to ask. I mean, I can ramble about this stuff for forever because I love it. But that's how I've been printing a lot of my stuff. For resin printing, it's completely different. I use another program called Bawks, and Bawks is a whole other monster in itself. It's really awesome. It's also free. So definitely look at that one if you're going to get resin printing. Look at Cura if you're going to be doing regular FDM printing. So it's a neat process, and that way, if you learn both of them, I mean, you know both types of printing. There's another type of printing. It's called SLA, which is like resin printing. It is resin printing, but they do it with lasers. It's more accurate, but those printers are a lot more expensive. So mine prints with UV light, which is something, you know, different, which is cool, but it's also cheaper. So that's why those printers you can get them for under $200, which is nuts. So definitely look into those. Anycubic, again, they have sales all the time. Right now, I think they're trying to get rid of everything. But yeah, check them out. They're a cool company. They've been good to me. I can't complain about them. So, but yeah, this is my stream for tonight, because I actually streamed a little bit longer than I wanted to. Oopsie, because it's almost midnight. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in and following me and listening to me ramble and watching me make a puppy dog head. Now I can send it to the customer and see if she approves it, and I can get this printed. And maybe I'll do a stream in the future where I'm just talking like around my machines and showing you guys how stuff works. It's just that the garage is warm right now. So definitely join me every Thursday, unless I say that I'm not streaming, but I usually stream on Thursdays here on Twitch, and I'll predominantly be doing 3D stuff. And I should be doing some fun like art stuff sometime soon, just to kind of, you know, vary it up as well. So thank you everybody for coming in. And oh wait, it says you have a question. I have a question. So the FBX file for an avatar, how hard would it be to use Blender to make it into a head base? You should be able to, especially because if you can cut off, like, you know, parts of it out of there, just make it into an OBJ file and then take it into the mesh mixer and then just slice it, and you should be able to make that into a head no problem. Oh, before I forget, you can resize it in here actually, because I did talk about that. Sorry, it is dimensions. This is how you can tell how big your head is, and I have it in millimeters. You can change it to inches, you can change it to whatever. So if you want, like, let's say the width, which is red, which is 2.6. You can change this to the 292.2. It will scale it to the size that your head will fit in, and then all these others, you know, it'll change it according to size. So this is how you can tell the exact size. If you save this OBJ file, it will have this information. So this is another way of doing it if you don't want to do it inside of Cura. And that way you can double check all your measurements. I have an older Mischief Maker head that was made from cast foam, but the front of the inner liner is having trouble sticking to the base. Do you have any tips on how to make the fur adhere better to a casted foam? Casted foam can be a pain depending on how they casted it and what kind of mold release was used inside, because we were using the wrong mold release for a long time, which made it really hard for stuff to glue. I would say if you can get to the foam and you can rake it a little bit with a dog brush, like a brush that you would use to wear, like, I mean, to brush a suit, and you rake the actual foam, it will create little pits in the foam that will help hot glue adhere better to the fur and the foam and everything. So you literally brush the foam kind of hard. I mean, don't rip chunks off of it, but create little rake marks with your slicker dog brush, like the metal ones, and then just kind of brush it. But brush it like I guess using the wrong way of the brush, and it makes a mess, but it actually kind of pits the surface enough for you to be able to glue stuff down, which is really nice. That's something I learned over time because I had some heads that were kind of a pain in the butt to hot glue stuff to, so I would just rake it until it would stick better. Thanks for the stream. Have a great rest of the night. Thank you, Sage. That would be cool, a studio tour. So at home, you can see what I have. Of course, at work, that's completely different. That's in another place. I was streaming at work for a little bit, but the problem was I was having really bad internet connection. Like right now, I'm connected directly to my router, so my internet should be okay. But over there, the router's just not working. So once I can get the router back on in a way that it works well enough, I will do some fursuit streams here and there when I do stay late. But for now, it's going to be a lot of 3D and 2D art because I want to do some 2D streams again. Okay, I usually use SolidWorks for all my 3D printing, but I have never tried using Blender, so that's why I was asking. No, definitely, you can do all this stuff. The cool thing is if you save something as an OBJ file, it will be read through, of course, like any of these programs, like Mesh Mixer will read it, Zbrush will read it, Blender will read it. So that's why it's one of those things that it's pretty awesome to do. So I save everything as an OBJ file. So thank you again, everybody, for coming in, watching me stream, and I'll see everybody on Thursday. Thank you so much for everybody that subscribes. Thank you, Juiceps, for bringing a boatload of people in, which is always really fun. And yeah, thank you. This was really cool. I am going to head to bed. Good night, everybody. Stay safe out there. And thanks, everybody who's been doing awesome social distancing. So you guys are great. I'll see you guys on the internet. Bye. Bye. Bye.